Welcome to Real American Monsters.
Hello, my friends in Monsterland. Tuesday night, once again, on the Untold Radio Networks, Real American Monsters. And we're back at the helm. We're back in the chair. We are in control of the next 90 minutes. And once again, we do not disappoint. Do we have another great guest for you all tonight? Mr. Kain Michael. I've had the privilege of being able to talk to Kane last night and a lot before the show tonight. And he is just a man that you would love to listen to. He's full of knowledge, and he definitely knows what's going on in the forest. So I'm looking very forward to it. This is the first time I had a chance to talk to him. I've talked to his partner in crime, Eric, a few times. He's been on the show, and this is our first time here. So I'm looking very forward to it tonight. We have a lot in common. He's into the frequency side of things also, and we're going to learn a little bit about everything we can tonight, but we're not going to learn all of it. So we'll just put it that way. So good evening, everybody. I'm glad that you guys could make it. Everybody's coming in. Good evening, Roger Holler. He's in the house. Mr. Flat Rockland. Good evening. Mr. BF Bud's with us. Mr. Patrick Nobel. Good evening, sir. Blue-Eyed Northern, of course, is with us. Good evening, Pat. Miss Diane Fowler's with us. So everybody's pouring in. This is going to be a great show. If you guys missed last week's show, we went into the paranormal side of things, and I think more and more people should start really looking into it and go back and backtrack and watch these programs that I'm bringing in the paranormal side, the people that do the ghost thing, because there's a lot that you can learn from them, and there's a lot that you can use to try and figure out what's going on this side of things too. So just take a look if you guys haven't, and spread the word about those shows. I'm going to keep on doing them, even though they don't get a lot of views. That's not why we're here. We're here to learn, and we're here to meet new folks, and that's why we do that. And so please take a look at them, because it's definitely worth the watch. So Mr. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot's with us. Mr. Flat Rock himself is with us. So everybody's coming in. So that's enough for me of babbling. Let's bring out our guest tonight, Mr. Kain Michael. All right. Good evening, sir. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
I want to say thank you. I know you have a huge commute from back and forth to work, and it's only Tuesday night early in the week, so I can understand the trying to get back for 8 o'clock. So I just want to say a big thank you from us for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This is 6 cups of espresso in there, so we're good to go, man. So that's the driving so far to work. The reward is coming here every night. So you can't have it both ways. So, got to make a living, but I want to live as remote in the woods as I can. So I do it every day.
All right. So let's do a little bit about that. Why don't you give everybody just a small little bio, for the folks that don't know who Kain Michael is, and then we'll proceed with the show. Let them know where, much as you can, and then we'll continue on.
I got into this about a decade ago, or actually probably a little bit more than that now. Started doing this with Eric Tipton, my forever friend and research partner, and we started just kind of doing this our own way. We really weren't influenced by what was going on in social media, especially around 2011, 2012. And we ended up really kind of going in head first with this. We started going out in the woods 46 weekends a year. And we did that for several years. And as we were doing that, we kind of just naturally gravitated. We didn't like working, hiking on hiking trails. So we pretty much stayed off of all hiking trails. We wanted to see all the stuff that most people don't see. And I would log those miles in each week that we would do it. And, you know, before too long, I mean, we quit counting after 3,000 miles. So we've definitely got our, you know, we've definitely seen a lot of woods, a lot in Ohio, and honestly, over a lot of this country. For a living, I work for a mechanical engineer. We do very large construction projects. I'm also a teacher. I teach HVAC apprenticeship school. So even at my age now, still learning, still getting certifications, and this has kind of been my journey. Had some encounters, some sightings, and what I do, I also run a page called House of Enoch on Facebook. I think I'm up to 26,000 followers at this point, which is taken. I've got some of the same people that have followed that page from day one, and I can't believe it. This real loyal following, really chill page. You don't see a lot of negativity on there, and all it is basically my research, the world through kind of how I see it, my lens, and I really try to turn the camera around the opposite way, so you don't always see me in a lot of the videos. I've put out, I think, over 600 videos. Caught a lot of stuff on video, a lot of encounters, and you know, over the years, I think they got about 5 million views on that. So that's probably my biggest accomplishment, is putting that page together and having a place, because at the time, all the pages I was following were like Bigfoot enthusiast pages. I was like, I really hungered for the research. Like, you know, what are people doing? You know, how do they go about this? How are they learning? And I really wasn't seeing that out there. So I thought, well, someone's got to do it. And I was fortunate enough, one, to have the time and to have the areas to do this. And so I just turned the camera around and talked to the audience. Like I said, through the world through my lens. I've made mistakes that, you know, from start to finish, you know, try new things, throw stuff out there. You know, it might be a summer where I'm talking about trail cams and trying, what can we do? Why do trail cams not work? Let's change the lens. Let's try all kinds of different stuff. Let's try to get a camera that can take pictures in zero light. Tried a lot of experimentation. Some of it works, you know, and then also kind of reading the woods the way I've learned to read the woods. And yeah, I get, you know, a lot of flack for that, but I also got a lot of people watching. So to me, after you spend so much time in the woods, you start seeing, I always say it looks like billboard signs. When their presence is in the area, it looks like billboard signs to me. It's unmistakable. And I can tell you this, like Eric and I hiking over 3,000 miles, you know, we have hiked all the forests, all the stuff where there's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, I can't tell you how many weekends, year after year, we go through and we hike through it and we're like, well, check that one off the list. And what we come to find out is it's like a needle in a haystack. And I don't know if you ever saw the documentary Trackways that Cam did, but he kind of documented how we do things, and we find real trackways, and all of a sudden, you know, it's like threading a needle through vast areas of wood, and over time you start to kind of instinctually know what to look for, and then you start seeing the signs that can help kind of get you in the right area. So when you are out in the woods, you're not always just taking a stab in the dark.
So Kane, you're a man of many interests. You're very smart. You're very educated. You're a very smart man. Why Bigfoot? What intrigued you about Bigfoot? Why did you choose that path?
The timing, really. I kind of started out as a skeptic. I was open to the idea of maybe something in the Olympics in California or something, and never once gave any thought that there might be something here in Ohio. And as the timing happened, it was Eric and I. Not only are we really good friends, we've worked together throughout the years, probably well over the last 20 years off and on. And we were driving together. We carpool. And, you know, being in that the business that we're in, I mean, even though I drive an hour and 20 minutes to work, you know, that's nothing to, a lot of times that's where the work is too. We'll go to a job site. So we carpool. And I was experiencing some really kind of nasty paranormal stuff, believe it or not, at my house at the time. And I would talk to Eric about this, all the stuff that was going on in my house. He would come over. All kinds of weird stuff would happen there. And we just, in conversation, I would tell him about this. And finally, you know, after months of just, you know, doing what we do on the way to work, he's just out of the blue said, I got something to tell you. And he's like, the only person I've ever told this to is my dad. And he tells me the story that happened to him, his first encounter in Ashtabula, Ohio, and what he experienced and what he saw. And he was just, he's like, man, I need to know what that was. And me being naive, I'm like, well, let's go find it. You know, I'm single. Let's go look for this thing. Having no clue where that journey was going to take us, or actually, you know, truly at that time in my mind, I thought, well, we're going to go walk in some, you know, go hiking in the woods. And, you know, if there's something out there, we'll find like Bigfoot houses or something. I was stupid. I mean, I did not know. I didn't know nearly what I know about the land and edible. I didn't know none of that stuff. This has been a growing thing for me. But honestly, the way we did it and kind of not following any kind of way, we just kind of gravitated doing the stuff on our own, off trail. And it was within the first year we came across, it was in the middle of winter, snow on the ground. It gets cold here in Ohio. And there was a perfect set of tracks, a large set and a small set of these little perfect footprints, the whole trackway. And walking through the snow, probably we had to have been at least 45 minutes from our car. And I was like, oh, damn hippies, man. Why would some hippie lady be letting her kid walk in the snow? And, you know, we honestly didn't have any casting. I mean, we were brand new at this, but man, I remember riding with him on the way home. I'm like, dude, that's not right. I don't care. I was like, you take your shoes off and stand in the snow for freaking 10 seconds out here. Your feet are going to sting for the next 5 hours. And it just really worked on me. And I'm like, okay, you know, that was my first thought. Hippies, you know, foreshadowing in my own life now, but I'm had no clue. But I'm like, okay, that's strange. And then it was within that first year, we had a huge encounter, me and Eric together, where we got surrounded and tree knocks and stuff thrown at us. And then I sold that, okay, there's something to this. And we just kind of formulated over the years a way of doing things, a way of kind of getting out there and being able to get a reaction. And a lot of this, even at the time, we didn't realize what we were doing, but we were learning the certain areas, and we were definitely learning the warnings. I mean, we were able to do this and repeat it a lot. We'd hike far enough, we'd hear a tree knock. That first tree knock, that would signal us to go straight towards that, which is probably a terrible idea, but that's what we do, because as we start going straight towards it, it would amplify. Next thing you know, it'd either be nuts being thrown at you, trees shaking, or full-blown logs whizzing by your head. And then at a certain point each time, you would hear these slow breaks. And that instinctually, we knew that's when it was time to, okay, back up, because this thing's fixing to kill us. Because these weren't little limbs, man. I mean, they were act like something, we call it displays of power. Something's like, if you keep chasing me, this is what's going to happen to you. And we always back out of that. And then slowly we started like learning the terrain, like, okay, where are we having these encounters? Then we started even pushing it further. Like, well, let's go to another forest we've never been to in our life. Let's kind of look for the same kind of layout. Let's do the same thing that we've done that's worked for us in the past. And not every, I mean, it's still, you're still just increasing your chances, but we did. I mean, we would, if there was something there, we would usually get an interaction, and we get a couple interactions a year. I mean, I'm not saying like we went out every time, because like I said, man, we've hiked thousands of miles with nothing in the woods. But you start to kind of find those areas and kind of know, where do you even start when you go in the woods? That's like first thing. I think a lot of people are like, well, we're going to go to the woods. We're going to walk down this hiking trail, and we're going to hope something happens. But it's way more than that. Like, the way I view this is, and I view this about campgrounds that are like at state parks, and I view this about hiking trails. Those are acceptable areas. They expect to see humans walking down the hiking trails. They expect to see the humans congregated in these areas, so that's acceptable to them. They're not going to sound off an alarm just because someone's walking down a trail, the same person that 500 other people have done that week. That's not enough to engage. They might be watching you. You might still have an encounter, but how do you take that next step? And what we learned was, well, let's get off the hiking trail. The next thing, what are you going to find? You're going to find a deer trail, game trails. What normally happens is the Sasquatch trails are beyond the game trails. So a lot of times they crisscross them. But it was being these two guys going over this ridge, 2 ridges over from the hiking trail that aren't supposed to be there, that all of a sudden, we cross a ridge and something's like, it has to sound an alarm to let the other ones know, hey, we got company. And I don't want to, this is just what we did. I want to stress, like, here in Hocking County, people die here every single year of getting off the trail and falling and dying, trees falling on them. So this is not something that I would promote for everybody. A lot of places, they frown on that anyway. But I mean, a couple of years ago, we had like 5 people die in one summer here. That's real. So I don't want to glorify that to the listeners, but that is kind of how it works. I believe wherever they're stationed at, it's usually not, I think there might be one that watches the game trails. So they might do it for entertainment, watching human trails, but they're usually far enough back to give them a little bit of space, and they don't care. They don't care. They know that these are people trails. They know this is the campground. Here in Ohio, there's Bigfoot Ridge, hugely popular, and it's a good spot. I don't care that everybody knows, and it's for real, man. They come up to that area. That if someone was going to Salt Fork, Ohio, and asked me for a suggestion, hey, where should I camp? I'd say Bigfoot Ridge. It's for real. Probably about between 4, 5, the twilight of the morning. That's when stuff happens there. And Eric and I have both witnessed that. People in Ohio, that's a good place. It's known, but even though there's a lot of people there's a lot of stuff that happens there.
Right. So you and Eric, you guys didn't force the issue. You let things happen. You observed. You took your time. I mean, you didn't push the envelope, and you just learned as day by day, time by time you went out there. What are some of the first things that you all were looking for when you first started? I mean, when you first go out in the woods, were you listening? Did you do research? Did you watch a certain person? Did you read a certain book, or did you guys just
totally off the cuff? We didn't follow anybody, read any book, didn't even really. And honestly, I didn't want to do that, nor did Eric. We wanted to learn our own truth, and we wanted to learn for ourselves. And what you find is when you do it that way and you find your own truth, then you're listening to podcasts later on and down the road and stuff, and then you start hearing the threads of the same truth. And I'll hear someone on podcasts, I'll be like, that guy had an experience. Because you know that thread of truth, that's the real deal out there, the experiences. You know that because you experienced it for yourself. And when we first started, we would hear tree knocks, and we always thought that was just other hikers up there, because we didn't know the area we were in. A lot of times we pull off the side of the road and look at a far ridge on the horizon and say, let's hike there. I mean, sometimes it would be 18-mile hikes. I mean, we had some tremendous adventures. A lot of them were not planned, but that's what we did. But then eventually we started. I think it was after the encounter where we got surrounded. I mean, Eric almost jumped off a cliff that time. It was like nothing, and we hit a certain area, and the woods exploded around us. There was tree knocks. I mean, you could hear this thing. It was like a machine gun fire, splintering the tree as it was hitting it, rock clacking, stuff getting thrown at us, and something was right behind. I climbed a tree. I'm like 30 feet in the air trying to see what's going on. Something, I think he said something clapped right behind him, and he contemplated jumping off that ridge. And then immediately everything just stopped, and it was like, did that even just happen? And it was that time that we made a stand, and we said, you know what? We're gonna hike a mile radius around this thing. I want to know if there's someone up there messing with us. And we did, man. We hiked a mile around where there was nothing. There was nothing. As a matter of fact, as we researched the area, I mean, it was hundreds and hundreds of. It was in Wayne National Forest. It's like 900,000 acres. You can hike there the rest of your life and never see the same area. We didn't know that at the time. So as we learned, okay, that was really strange. And then we end up calling this place the front door because a certain way a tree looked. And one of the things that happened to us, we had our own secret trail. We would have to hike a human trail several miles into the woods. And then at a certain place, we had our own secret trail that we would hike a couple ridges over into where we called the front door. So we had our own secret trail. And we had been up there already. And when we were coming down, there was a structure on our secret trail, right in the middle of our trail. And dude, this is out in the middle of nowhere. And that was one of the first times that kind of clued us in to tree structures and stuff. And at that time, I associated that one as human. Just in my mind, I'm like, this is a human trail. And it is kind of funny. I wouldn't die on that hill right now, but I can tell you what, I see that same exact structure, almost like a little teepee structure around campsites. public sites. I see that same little thing around public walkways or hiking trails in the woods. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how my mind works. My mind sees something in a correlation, and that gets put on the shelf. Now I start noticing that one. And then as you go, you start seeing other things that start repeating themselves. Now, in my mind, I see it. I put it on the shelf. And over the years, I take these little things off the shelf and start adding it to my knowledge base. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. No, I'm thinking myself, because I found those little tiny TP structures with the single thing, like a L pole that dangles in the middle like a hook. You could put a pot on it at state forests near campground.
Yeah.
Just like, and then last night when we were talking about the wood knocks, you talked about the metal wood knock. And then I'm like, all night long, I'm thinking about, oh my God, when they used to do the metal and wood knock, they were like 50 feet in back of us, and they're different knocks for different things. And and that's the best part of this, is because, like you said, you find your own truth. But then when you talk to somebody in a similar situation and they're out doing the same thing and they're finding things, and then you hear from you, like I'm hearing from you today, you're like, oh my God, the same thing is happening here, but now it's happening. So the phenomena, do you think it's all linked? Do you think that they're all one unit? Do you think there's individual pods? Well, what's your thoughts on the phenomenon itself in general?
I think there's different family groups. I call them troops, family groups, and I have reasoning to think this. As much travel as we've done to other states and stuff, I see a lot of the same kind of signs. Not only just here in Ohio, but I also see them in other states, but designed a little differently. Which to me, if you're teaching something, you're going, my family's going to do something a little different from this family. And I've also, I've noticed that. And then I also noticed Eric and I have found a lot of larger structures with little ones, like little, practice structures. We found that on several occasions. So to me, there's a learning process, and then I think there's a troop that probably dominates the area. But I also believe they have. I don't believe they just roam. I believe they have a territory, a range, and like going back to like the structures and stuff. The first thing people always say is, well, that could be someone out in the woods doing that. You're off a hiking trail or whatever. So the next step is, well, okay, I live on 750 acres and I'm finding out here. So help explain to me now. So either it's me doing it and I'm not. My neighbors are 60 acres between all of us, and I think I have 10 people that live on my road on 10 miles. I can go this way or this way, several miles without a road. And my property kind of curls around another state park. So there's hours and hours you can hike. So this stuff gets harder to explain, is what I'm getting at. Once you take the public out of it, now you've upped this to private land. Now on private land, you're seeing this. You're seeing the same kind of. I know we talked about a little bit last night about it looked like territory wars. To me, some of the stuff I see out here looks like two different gangs warring, tearing down their, these structures and putting up these structures. And that's just the world through my lens, what I'm seeing. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's the feeling I get. Like for a long time, there was a ridge back here. It's still a great ridge. Next time you have Eric on, you have to ask him about what happened to him on that ridge. He had like a power knock, 30 feet. We're in hammocks in the dark. No, it had rained. I'll be honest with you. It had rained. It was a terrible night. He had food poisoning, and I drank a bottle of Fireball. I was like, screw this night, well, nothing's going to happen. So I drank a bottle of Fireball so I could go to sleep. I'm sitting over there. I'm in no shape. He's sick, and this happens, and he wakes me up, and he's like, dude, we got to get out of here. And I'm like, okay, we got out of there. I don't know how I got us home. I do know when we found my cabin, I was going the opposite way. We were hiking this way, and somehow we came this way to the cabin. But it was a wild night for him. But there was a lot of structures up there that were built since I lived here. Like when I first moved in this cabin, I surveyed everything on my immediate property, and that way, as soon as I got there, there's some stuff already here. That's one of the reasons I bought the cabin. There was stuff down the road I saw when we were driving in. So in my mind, I thought, well, even if something's not here, there's something. It looks like there's some stuff close. So maybe I can draw them to me if necessary. Then I got here and I saw some old stuff. But once I got my lens on and I knew the area, I could start following the structures that were being put up, days and weeks after they were put up. I'd find them. I can't hike this whole property in one night. So it takes me, I'll go hit different areas over and over again and make a big kind of a loop around this place. But I'll find it, and I will. I'll document. I'll document every. You don't know how OCD I am about documenting. I mean everything you can think about that, and I'll document it. And I've got lists. And man, I tell you, I moved here in 2018. I could show you stuff right now that would absolutely blow out of the water what people that don't think there's anything to these structures. I can prove that wrong. And data alone, and the data alone, like there's several counties that kind of mesh here, and it's a big area, but I have like 150 sites, man, where some of the stuff I find, 150 sites, 4 counties within 20 feet of elevation of each other. That's not natural. Same structures, not only is it the same structure, it's that particular structures within 20 feet in a 20-mile radius in 4 different counties. That's when the data starts having a power punch, man. You start logging that in and putting this stuff together. And not only that, but okay, how come you find this structure, and then if you know where to look, you're going to find this type of structure, and if you know where to look, you're going to find, and this repeats itself for miles. That's the stuff that when I'm on my page, I'm talking on my page, and I try to preach that this is not easy. If you want to go and you want to dig into structures and see what's going on and find boundaries, you've got to hike it all. And it might take, it's taken me years to do what I've done. A little bit at a time, man. Throwing this out, log it all. Eventually this picture becomes clear. And you start seeing the correlations, and then you can start being okay. Now I've got some data to work with. I'm seeing these here, here, and here. What's around here? What else can I build upon this? And that's what will shut people up. The only problem with that is if you show the public all this stuff, they're going to go out and hoax it. So you really, once someone knows there's structures out there that I've never seen on the internet ever posted to someone like saying, hey man, check this out. As soon as I do that, what do you think is going to happen within the year? People are going to start, not everybody, most people are, 99% of us are great people, loving people, but you have that deviant amount that will screw it up for everybody. And the research is too important until we figure some more out. Some of this stuff just can't be public, but it's there for anybody that's willing to hike the miles and to do the work. Because I would love for somebody somewhere else to say, hey, Kane, here's what I came up with. I've done this, and we can open up and compare notes, man. I'm waiting for that. Right now I have Eric. That's Eric and I do that. Mm-hmm. And everybody has different situations. I'm not talking down to anybody. I love everybody. This is just what I do. And this is the kind of stuff that keeps me going, because I can see in the data this means something.
Did you think once they knew you noticed what they were doing, they started leaving more signs for you to follow? Do you think they were leading you around, or did you just come across what you believed, that you were meant to find?
There is for the beginning, it was just finding it randomly. I had nothing to do with it. Just you're finding it, and you're seeing similarities, and you're seeing stuff. But I'm a very firm believer. A lot of times I'll say this is a theory, and then I'll say this is what I know. What I know is if you notice them and they see you noticing them, you are now a focus of their attention. Whether you're just the person in the woods at that time and you're looking at something that they did or following subject, put it in their mind. They're watching two guys in hunting gear and following their tracks. You better bet you've got their attention. If they see, because to them you're tracking them, and from their mind, that's how I see it. Yeah, they're going to notice you. And the same thing where I live. I absolutely they notice me, but I also interject myself into the conversation. That's one of the things I've done since I moved here. I have my own signature. A thing that I do when I leave my own little marker, kind of like this pesky little old hippie guy that keeps finding stuff in the woods and hangs a lot of it. Now I'll kind of have my scent on it, and I'll hang it. And I've got these all around, but that'll get you noticed. I have my own wood name, a whistle I do. I play native drums. All these things are my identifier, because I'm trying to think, okay, how am I going to communicate with something? How are they going to communicate with me? How does the animal world communicate with each other? They don't call each other by name. It might be that one knock. It might be that one mouth pop. It might be that sound that sounds like something hitting a metal roof. That might be the identifier. It might be a whistle. It might even, I kind of I'm leaning to, it's very personable. Your own print could be an identifier on a very personal level. And I didn't come to this on my own. I had seen a thing up on the ridge, and I had last year, and I'd put one of my little markers, and I just hung it beside it. And I'm like a fly on the wall. I just hung it beside it, but there was really soft dirt right there. So I made sure to put my footprint right in that soft dirt, left it alone, came up about a week later, and there was a 13-inch print that stepped right into my print. And to me, that was a moment for me, because I'm like right now, it felt like barefoot, like there was this thing's learning about it, because that's what I would do if I'm out there, and I do hike a lot barefoot. If I saw a big impression, one of the things I know I would do, I put my foot. I want to feel the weight. I want to feel. I would get a sense of what this thing is by the way I put my foot in that impression. And it just struck me away, like, man, it put its foot into mine. And so So yeah, I mean, I think that's an identifier. They know that I live here. And all I'm trying to just be another, I say wildling. I'm just trying to be another wildling that's living in the forest. I can sit out here, man. I got deer come up close to me. They're not too scared of me. I have owls, man. I have a group of owls, dude. They'll freak you out. They'll land up right beside me. I've gotten it on video before and hang out, man. It's the coolest thing ever. To me, I'm like, this is the coolest feeling in the world because I'm becoming part of the landscape. You know, they're used to me. Well, I told you, like when I'm playing my native drums, I listen to the crickets and I listen to the ambience of the night, and there's a beat, and it's actually the golden ratio. It's a Fibonacci sequence, and you can tune into that. And I'm a musician, so I'm sitting here counting it off, and I get my drums and I just start, you know, and I get in this groove, and everything is in a symphony together. And if I'm in that groove, man, everything stays. If I decide to do a drum roll, everything will stop and look and be like, okay, what's going on? Everything, you know, everything out here is one unit. Everything out here it's either predators or prey, and it's in a giant alarm system. You know, if I just go walk out by my pond nonchalantly, everything's going to stop. But you know what? You'll see a deer, you know, stop that deer, look, that deer knows. The mourning doves or whippoorwills, whatever, they go off. The crows will rat you out. The bugs, everything, there's a scent. So I'm just trying to be part of what's here. And the best thing for me at night, man, that inspires me is to sit out there and just be with everything else. We're all kind of doing this little symphony, and on occasion, you'll hear stuff out there that I believe are Sasquatch. Communicating back and forth through knocks or whatever. Now I'm like, all right, they know I'm out here on my deck. The insects, the animals know, and we're all just out here living, man. And to me, that is like a huge step in the right direction. Like let's get to this point, to where we can all kind of trust each other, at least in this environment. That's what I'm striving.
Yeah, so you told me a story last night, but where I think the male of the family unit or whatever, everybody has a different name for them, and kind of gave you that test, the trust test with Mama and the little one down at John. Do you want to share with everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah. If I just go back a little bit, I believe when I first moved in here, I was getting tested a lot. A lot of it was scary. A lot of it was. It's still scary. It's still, even at 4th of July was pretty scary because it's so powerful, man. You don't really know how. You don't know, man. Your instinct is like you're about to die. You never do, but you sure feel it. But so I believe the reason I was getting tested to see how I'd react. I'd be laying up in bed, you know, something smashed my window, something would hit the top of the cabin, kick my door. I think that those first initial steps was to see, you know, okay, is this guy going to run out here with his flashlight? Is he going to point a gun? Is he going to start trying to shoot everybody? And then after a while, I believe that it's probably like, oh, this guy's kind of chill. Seems like he knows that we're here and doesn't seem to mind. So, you know, this had to have been a good spot for them because it was, no one lived here for 20 years. So they probably don't want to give a spot. Now all of a sudden this guy moves in. So let's feel him out. And over this process, this was kind of a long process, but it ended up, I ended up having some stuff going on. I went out on my deck and I sat down on my deck with my back facing basically the woods. and I'm just sitting there, and something's taking these pebbles and hitting my tin roof of my cabin. And I'm sitting there, and I'm dying to go get my camera. I'm dying, but I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit here and just see what happens. I'm not even going to try to film it. This is just going to be for me. And I felt it. I felt the presence. The rock stopped, and I feel this thing feels like he's staring through the back of my head. And you couldn't pay me enough money to turn around, and I'm just sitting here, in the dark, pitch dark, man. And I could feel him. And the next thing I know, I hear sounds like some swimming in my pond, like people swimming. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And I didn't know, and I just sat there and I chilled out, and eventually the water stopped, and I felt that presence go. And I didn't know what to think about it until the next day. I got up and I went out to the pond, and there was a sapling. I don't have saplings in my pond. Something pulled a tree, and it was like using the limbs to twirl all the fish eggs and larvae. How the fish will lay all around the pond. They swim around, they burrow. I pulled that sapling out. Here's all these fish eggs around. So what I was hearing was, I believe, what would be the mother and the juvenile, because I found tracks on the side of the pond that I casted. And I thought, wow, that what a wild experience, man, that they let me witness that. I didn't see him. Even from my deck to the pond is pitch dark. Especially at the time, I didn't have a fountain out there, so it was just dark. But I could sit there. I got to hear that, and I really felt like that was kind of the test. Like if you try to do something, I'm right here, but I'm going to let them go down there. We want to get some food, and we'll just see how cool you are with this. And I mean, I was crapping my pants the entire time. If there was a heart rate monitor on me, I would have failed. But I did. I just sat there until that presence went away and kind of took a deep sigh. And then just the next day thinking about it, I'm like, man, that's one of the coolest things I could experience. I like that experience better than having a sighting, because that feels to me like I'm moving forward. I'm getting accepted. And I'm not in this for a picture next week or something. I'm in this to learn what I can learn, and for the long haul. I'm not here to get famous. I'm not here. I have a burning desire in my heart to know things, and I want to just be accepted and learn what I can learn. That's really it. And I think it would be a gift. The more you learn, it'll be a gift.
Right. It grows with you. The more you invest in it, and the more you trust it, and the more you experience it year after year, it grows with you. You learn more. It's more of a connection between you and whatever you're experiencing. What they want you to experience, or whatever the individual is out experiencing. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself. So again,
I think you learn, though. I think when you go through the trials and you test, and you have to earn that, like that little bit of knowledge that you gain, when you're actually learning that, and your boots on the ground, and you're sweating, bleeding, and putting in the time, you end up at a certain point respecting it so much that you don't really want to get it. You really don't want them to find them. I think that happens to a lot of people. Like, I could care less, and that's definitely. I changed. I've changed. When I first started this, I wasn't that respectful. I wanted a picture no matter what I want. I didn't have the respect that I do now. Like, this journey has I've grown. I've grown spiritually. I've grown to be a better person, a better outlook on life just from this journey.
Do you think folks that don't go this far in the journey, that think that this is too strange, are more afraid of what is to come and just get stuck in their routine and just want to stay where they are? Or do you think that's just the way certain people are built, like you and me, to just want to learn more and more? Why do you think that there's that separation between, the folks that look into this subject?
Well, obviously there's non-player PCs and there's player PCs. I love everybody, and you know what? We all have a journey to walk, and on our journey, who am I to say what someone else feels or what drives them? Life's hard enough, so I just try to put love out there, but there's some people that just don't have this drive. They don't have the need to, like, not everybody stares at the sky at night and looks at the stars and wonders why we're here. Some people, that's just not in their vocabulary, and that's fine. Maybe it's better to be that way, because I'm not. I have this childlike wonder still of the world. I see myself getting grayer, I'm getting older, and I still have this desire. I keep myself up at night thinking about stuff like that, thinking about frequencies, thinking about freaking the universe and this subject, everything to do with this subject. And it's just something that's in you. It's a fire that burns in some people, and a fire, I believe that it doesn't burn at all. And whatever gets you through through your life, man, I just hope the people are happy doing what they're doing. I would not be happy if I was on the other side. I've actually made big life changes so I could do this. I could be way more set up financially. I could have taken that route and been that guy that settled and just got into that. I tried it, man. I couldn't do it. I was miserable. I'd rather die in a tent than die in a mansion. I mean, that's just how I feel now. I want to live. I want to walk this journey, and I want to learn what I can while I'm here.
Do you think this is part of the phenomenon that if you start following them and you get to know them and you know where they are and you're interacting with them, and they are showing you what we have lost over time? They are showing you what it is to be part of the forest once again, to forget about the hustle and bustle, to come back in the woods. I mean, we're being forced out of the forest. So you go hiking on the weekends, and how many people you see? We have thousands of acres here in Northwest Connecticut, and you'll see 3 people on the trail, if that.
Mm-hmm.
On most days, you're up there by yourself. There's not a soul out there. We're being forced out of the forest. We start looking with these guys. We start interacting with these guys, and now we're back in the forest. Do you think they're just trying to get us and show us what we're missing out on?
Yeah, man, I think they're truly free. I think they're showing us what it is to be truly free, to just be born, here and be natural. We're not natural. I mean, we should look, if we just lived naturally, we would look nothing like what we even look like now. And I don't know if they're teaching that, but it's a reminder. It's a reminder of I watch animals, man. I watch squirrels. I watch birds. I watch how they react, and they don't worry. There's a lot in the Bible that talks about, the bird doesn't worry about where it's going to get its meal. It's provided. And it's true. Deer don't, deer are amazing, because deer live in the moment, and you can tell, like, it's so hard for us modern humans to actually be in the moment, to where you're not, even when you're hiking, or you're thinking, okay, well, when I get home, I got to take the trash out, and I got to do, our minds are full, and just to stop the thoughts and be in the moment, like a deer. A deer, sits up, eats, and then it's in the moment again. And then half time it goes, and it's still in the moment. It's living its entire life in the moment. And man, it's hard for us to do that. It's something I work on. There's times where I feel like I finally turn my brain off. Sometimes the drumming helps, but you just kind of get there, and you're living. Your hearing gets better. You hear like you can audibly hear when you get into the zone. You can see more. You start hearing stuff like, I don't know what that is, but sometimes if you're focusing at something this way and you're in a moment, you can hear more this way. And I don't know how to describe that, but I know it's true. I'll be like, all of a sudden I'll be in the moment and I'll hear something way in the distance. Like there's no way I should be hearing this. And I think that's a reminder of what we used to be. And, it's, we're going one way and nature stays the same. Sitting here at my cabin, man, there's times that power goes out or whatever, and I'm just sitting out here. I'm looking at a landscape that hasn't changed in thousands of years. And I think to myself, I'm like, I wonder what's going on out there. I'm wondering, like, anything. A nuclear war? I have no idea. I don't have any service. I'm just sitting here and I look around like nature doesn't care.
Yeah.
Nothing here. Life's rolling, man. Whatever's happening out there beyond the ridges, man, nature goes on. Nature doesn't care. And that was a life lesson of living out here. Nature doesn't care.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So people, some people think that what we do is strange, and it's okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Anything ever come to you that you think is strange? You've experienced a lot. Have you ever experienced the strange, like something that blew your mind?
Yeah. Over the years, there's been a lot of things that I can't even be. There's things that have happened to Eric and I, and we look at each other and we're like, what do we do with this? No one's going to believe it. No one's ever going to believe. We talked about it. I can give some examples. We were out in the middle of Wayne National Forest. Again, that's 900,000 acres, and nowhere near anything, just woods. We heard what sounded like a train crash, the trumpets of God. It was a sound that encompassed us, and I don't even know how to describe it. The only thing I could scientifically think of is a shift in tectonic plates, like a continent. This was all-encompassing vibration, and just stopped. And we're like dumbfounded, like, what in the world was that? And we did the same little thing, man. We hiked all the way out, like there's a foundry. There's got to be something that account for this noise. And there wasn't. And what do you do with that? It's just something that happened. It could have been something totally natural. I don't know, but I don't know what that answer is. Like I said, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say it was a tectonic plate shift, and it was like a whole part of the country or something just did something. But it almost sounded like a train derailing. It's just real long, mechanically, kind of a mechanical sound. There's another time Eric and I were in the back of my cabin. Sorry, I'm a pointer, but we were in the back of my cabin at night, and the front of my cabin on the other side, the entire front lights up like a spotlight. We're seeing this light. Here's the silhouette of the cabin, and there's this giant light. And we instinctively run around the cabin and meet at the front of the cabin. Dude, there's no light. There's no reason for that. There's no explanation for that. And again, we're looking at each other like, well, can't really tell anybody about this. No one's going to believe you. We can't explain it. Can't even, no explanation. Had those kind of moments. So yeah, I mean those are some of the things that just right off the top of my head, some really strange stuff. But before all this, I had some really, really strange paranormal things that even to this day, it's hard for me to talk about. I I had some stuff happening when I was young. I had a sibling pass away when I was 16, had an experience there. And so I was already kind of a little bit open to this because I knew that was real. I knew that. So I think that's why when Eric mentioned to me, and also at the time I was experiencing some stuff again later in life. Yeah, I knew that was real. So I was open to like, okay, I'll hear what you have to say about what you experienced, and I believed them. I mean, I know the man. I knew him when he had his last sighting at Salt Fork. I know that man. That almost destroyed that guy for 2 years. And I know that because he's my friend. I watched him go through it. I watched him suffer through it. I watched that things that changed, his habits that changed. He got, honestly, for a while, he was not the funnest guy to be around. He was kind of short with people, and he was just dealing with. He was trying to deal with what he saw, and this is a point in our life where we were looking for this thing, and but to see it, the encounter that he had, I watched that guy. Man, it took him a couple of years, man, to get kind of over it, and so I don't know, man.
Yeah, I've lost a couple of people that have started going out with me at the beginning. Then once things started happening, and then they started realizing that it was real, that was it. They stopped coming. That was enough for them.
I freely admit, I'm. People always say, "Man, you're brave." I can't tell you, like what I've experienced out here. Yeah, is very intense. But man, I can't tell you what's going to happen if I'm face to face one day, which I in my heart I believe is gonna. I believe at some point in my life it's gonna be when I least expect it and turn around. I can't swear to you that I want to live out here anymore. I mean, it's pitch dark out here, man. It's if there was an emergency right now and I called 911, it'd take them 45 minutes to get here. So you have to be a little self-reliant to live out here. I mean, I have literally got up in the morning, looked out my driveway with trees, like cutting myself out this morning, I guess. Better have a chainsaw. You better have a backup plan. It's rough, man. So I can deal with some of the things that happen, but also July 4th, I slept that night. I locked my cabin up, which I almost never do. And I slept with a gun. I mean, even after all these years, man, it's intense because you don't know. Like, I want to believe I'm kind of having this relationship. There's times when it's so powerful, you question that, like, am I wrong here? Because I don't know how to interpret that, because that sounded like a cannonball just hit the side of my cabin. And
wait, any further, Kane? Excuse me. Let's play that for everybody so they can hear it. Let's see. How do I pull it up here? Video file. Right here. Okay, everybody, here it comes. I don't know if it's going to play right away or not, if I have to add it. So, all right, here it comes.
Little light you're seeing is the moon. Shit. Hey!
I'm gonna play one more time. The of course, it doesn't do it justice when you play the recording. It's very much loud when you see it from the file itself. But for some reason, let me see if I could do this. Hold on 1 second, everybody. Sorry. See if this works. Here we go. One more time.
Little light you're seeing is the moon. Shit.
Hey. So it sounds like a gunshot almost.
You're right, and it degrades. Like even from what I sent you, like when you hear it on my phone, dude, it echoes. And just to paint the picture, I knew I was going to catch something on audio that night because it had been happening like every 10 minutes, and it was either little stuff. I was working on my Harley earlier that night, and man, this feeling. Like I don't know, you have this sense. I hear the things that I hear, things, I know what normal sounds like, then I know when things aren't so normal. But I kept working on my motorcycle, got it running. I'm out there revving it, got it back, put it away, and then was in a cabin for a little while. And this is July 4th. Because of that, I think, plus I'm outside all the time. I went out there, and what it first started was everywhere I was standing at the deck, a rock or something would land right beside me, and I'd go move to the other side of the deck, and something would land beside me, and I'd go clear over the other side. And then something like that would go off, and that honestly startled me. So that wasn't the first time it happened that night. So I thought about it, I try to, when stuff like this happens, I think, okay, what am I doing wrong? Okay. Let me get my recorder. Let me get my thermal. And I went in, and by that point, I was a little freaked out. So I have a little screened in porch. That's all screened in. I like sitting out there because it's very hard to see in. So I was sitting out there. So when I'm in there, I've got my cell phone, and I can see the little light, which was the moon. So I thought, I better tell the audience that what they're seeing, because people will question that. Hey, what's the light? And I did that, and that happened. And so I got that. I ended up turning that off, and I thought, okay, lights are off already by this point. I come in the cabin, I go upstairs, and I open the window, and I already have my thermal on, and I just start panning, got 2 thermal hits. And as I got the first one, it doesn't come off the audio very well, but man, something blasted right above my head. Why, one, I'm night blind now because I'm looking through the thermal, and it'll make you like night blind. And this thing slams right above my head, like maybe 3 feet above my head. So I kind of fall back into the bedroom. I get back out. I'm trying to refocus. I'm half blind. Where I was getting the one thermal hit, it's gone. And I turn around, and maybe 20 feet in the wood line, I get another big thermal hit. So I'm like, okay. And then I shut it down. I went in my bedroom, and I don't like it because I know everything out there can see, even if you have a night light, man, they'll see a door open, so they know where I'm at. And for like every 10 minutes for an hour, probably till like 3 a.m, something was going on. Even after, I was up for hours, and then finally you start to doze and almost asleep, and bam, and you back up, looking around like, okay, I don't think I dreamed that. And then you're up again, and nope, here something else happens, and it just kind of relentless, man. And sometimes that's great if it happens on the weekend, but man, it sucks when it happens on a Wednesday work night, and it happens all night long. I mean, that's when it sucks. I've had times out here where things happen day after day. And by the end of the work week, man, I'm frazzled. Because I'm not getting any sleep. I still have to go to work. I have to make a living. And I'm driving with, a couple hours sleep after a week of this craziness, and then it'll go away, And a lot of times what will happen, I'll get so much stuff recorded. I'll get so much video of stuff. It takes me a long time to kind of go through it because in the moment, I'm just trying to capture as much as I can capture. And I'll be very honest. Part of the reason that I don't get so scared when I'm out in the woods or when I'm stuff like this, there's a weird sensation when I know I'm by myself, but if I'm filming, I know I'm not live, but it makes me feel like I have someone with me. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. And that's part of the reason probably why living out here, I do put a lot of videos out, because in a way it helps you not feel so lonely. So when things are really tense and scary, that's why I do what I do, because honestly, it calms me, because it doesn't feel like I'm experiencing all this by myself, even though it might be the next day or something everybody else gets to experience it with me. But that's kind of the point of the page. Like you're seeing things as they happen. I don't try to over explain. I've never in over a decade said this was a Sasquatch on my page. I just put it out there to the audience, the viewer, anybody that cares to watch. You can make up your mind on what's going on. Stuff. This people say, well, you have an overactive imagination. Well, your imagination doesn't leave stuff like this. Your imagination doesn't leave stuff like this. These were casted off my property. This is part of the family group that over the years getting prints from. So I feel pretty confident saying it's a family group. The juvenile, I've got 4 casts of it. I'm watching its foot grow. So something's happening out there. It's also leaving physical evidence. It's also doing physical things, and then it's also doing stuff that just doesn't seem straight up paranormal.
Well, I'm with you on that. They leave you both signs of both, and you can ask for it too. You just say, well, this is really happening. I need something physical to help me to deal, help me, come to terms with it, sort of say. And it happens.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not what it's not what you asked for. I mean, I've had that feeling. It usually only happens. It's happened with Eric and I a few times. We've been camping out way too far to safely. We used to do it on purpose. We'd be like, let's camp so far out that no matter what happens that night, there's no way we can walk back to the car. That way we'll ensure ourselves that we're going to stay here. And then something really happens, and it happens all night, and you have the longest night in your life, and you think you're going to die. And I sit there and I question myself, like, you're the dumbest person on the planet. You asked for this. You're going to die. You're going to die tonight over the stupid thing that you can't let go of. You're out in the middle of the woods. There's no way you're going home, and something out there wants to kill you. And you question your motives. And it's kind of like a tattoo. You get a tattoo, and a certain spot, you regret it. But a couple months later, you're ready to go get another tattoo, and that's kind of how this works. Sometimes you just gotta get away from it for a while. Then you're like, yeah, let's go camp again. So I experienced that a little bit here. There's only been a few times where I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to live here. The only thing that saves me is my cabin. The presence of my cabin, the feeling in my cabin is the most peaceful feeling. A lot of people, when they come here, my sons and stuff, they're like, God, your cabin feels so zen, man. And so even when things are going on outside that make me question living out here. This cabin has a zen to it. And I should say this, a lot of times it's not some of the things that made me want to question living out here, not always Sasquatch related. Taking my FJ down the side of the ridge in the middle of a snowstorm, and dealing with that, and like, man, is this worth it? Being without electric for days at a time, just the stuff you have to deal with living out like this on your own. You just have to have a stiff upper lip, man. And I'm not saying I'm Billy Bad or nothing. It's just life, man. There's just certain things that you don't have the services. You have to rely on yourself. And sometimes that to me, I question, like, man, I almost fell off a tree out here one time. I thought to myself, like, nobody on the planet knows where I'm at right now. I don't have a cell phone signal when I get out of the cabin. No one would even know where to look. And if I would have fell and broke my leg, I'm crawling home. So I have to be prepared every time I go out. That is the reality. Like, if you're going to hurt yourself out here, one, let's not. But two, if that happens, you're crawling home. Seeing a large cat out here, I climbed a tree one time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bear in another tree. And when I tried to get down out of the tree, it tried to get down out of the tree. And it was a pretty intense moment. Like, is this thing coming at me? And thank God it ran the other way. Just weird moments like that. Like, man, stuff can happen out here, and you just have to roll with it.
Yep. Yes, sir. All right. Well, we are already at almost the hour and a half mark. So yeah, just like that, we even get to anything that we wanted to get to tonight. So
dude, I talk too much. I'm sorry. I get excited.
No, I'm not complaining. It was awesome. But I'm going to take a couple questions from the audience. If you guys got a question for Kane, please put them all in caps. I know people were asking during the interview, and I caught a few of them. So I got one here from Blue Eyed Northern, and she asks, when you say troop, would that be possibly one dominant male and several females? Your thoughts?
Possibly. I mean, I hate to speculate on stuff that I don't know about. What I feel like here is a dominant male, a female, and a child, and maybe another child. Other places that we have found pretty much nest sites and stuff be like a group of 7 individuals. So I don't know. I don't know. I will tell you something that I think you'll really enjoy. By being able to do this research long term like this and study how things move across my property. So there's a 24-inch trackway that I got it's too big, or I would show it to you. It was what I believe is the alpha. The mother is about a 15 or 16-inch print, and then of course the juvenile is growing. That was the one print I showed you. This is the latest on the juvenile. So it's getting bigger. One thing that I've noticed when they cross the property, it's the mother, the one that I call mother, is always the one closest to the cabin. The juvenile, 100%, every time I find tracks, the juvenile is always in between mom and dad. Dad is not that far away. Dad's more towards the end of the driveway, that area that can come take care of things in a quick second. But it's usually mom that's closest to the cabin, that comes up by the carport. That's where I'm not guessing this. This is where I see her tracks. I find these prints. Then I find one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go down about 20, 30 yards, start looking, and usually I'll find the juvenile. And then I'll not always. The dad's, even though his prints are so big, I've only found those a few times. But it's like it's almost like they think about it, and it's not blindly. They cross this property very strategically. I think mom comes up, she's got a couple places. The first thing she does is look and see if I'm on the deck. they know there's only one person that lives here, and she signals them. All right, she signals them. After the coast is clear, they cross. Once they get up on the ridge, I've noticed they'll kind of, if they're going to stay up there the night, they'll either move on through and they won't do anything, or they'll get up there and they'll kind of be close, but not right on top of each other. I don't usually see them I usually see their little sights within eyesight of each other for sure. Sometimes it looks like maybe there's a bigger group together, and then there's always the bigger troop size. There's always kind of like what you call lookouts. They when they bed down or wherever they're at, that's very strategic. It's very actually documentable. We have the same thing here in Ohio as they do in the Olympic project. How they bed and the formations that they make. And we did that with Amy Boo and Project Zoo Book live with a bunch of scientists. Discovered that. Another quick thing for you. Sorry. When I casted the father's footprints, these 24-inch tracks, there's a lot of data you could gather from these things. And one thing I could do was figure out how fast it was moving in that terrain. This thing was moving in the terrain, going up a hill, a ridge here, at 3.5 miles an hour. I was at 1.1 mile an hour in the same terrain. So the first thought I thought about that was, okay, let's say something happens here and I do have to call 911. Takes the police 45 minutes to get here. They finally get here. I tell them what happened. They're like, okay. And they're going to go shine their flashlight out in the woods like they do, make sure the coast is clear. That thing could be 3 miles away in an hour at that speed in that terrain. And that's at a walk. It wasn't running. It walked. Another interesting note about that, it sidestepped a security camera. If it would have just walked across the driveway in a straight line, it would have walked right in front of a security camera, but it didn't. It stepped around it and went up the ridge. A lot of things you can learn. I always say walk a mile in someone's shoes, you'll learn a lot about them. So, sorry, again, long-winded.
No, it's all good. It's a great answer, so you got to hear it all. All right. Squatch asks, have you found any big canine prints or sighting sounds that make you think dogmen also around your property?
One time I have found some large canine prints. I know somebody that has some pretty good dogman evidence that doesn't live very far from here. Me personally, I don't ever want to see a dogman. I don't want to, and I know all cryptids and stuff, but dogman to me, man, is I have no interest in crossing paths with this thing. To me, just my sense is that's evil, and I might be wrong for feeling that way, but honestly, at one time I found some pretty large canine prints, and I wish I had them with me. But in a different area, we found actually a trackway of these things with claws that were 6 inches long. I have no idea what this thing is, but those are legit poured prints, several of them that we were able to pour. And I researched those things. The only thing that I could find that looked remotely close to that was a Velociraptor. That's the only print I could find. Everything I looked, I'm like, well, I hope we don't have Velociraptors in the woods, but I don't know what has. These claws are made to absolutely kill you.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about residual hauntings last show. I had a paranormal guest on, and we were talking about residual hauntings and how you would find only one Bigfoot print out in the middle of nowhere. So Bigfoot must pass away, or something happens, or they're in spirit. Everybody has their own beliefs, and I believe that they're interdimensional. I think they can travel, but anyways, so what's there to say that they're not coming every 20 years to that same spot and leaving one footprint, and then that's it, and then another 20 years they come back to that spot? I mean, that's why I think it's important to look at both sides and try to learn as much as you can and compare notes and like you said, walk a mile in their shoes and, put other people's,
I'm with you 100% on having paranormal people on there and that's this other world, because I honestly believe a lot of the equipment that they're using, we could be using. There's, I think it's great. I think the more open-minded you are, even if you're not a ghost person, I had those experiences in my life. I'm not a paranormal. I don't want to do that because I don't want to bring that back into my life. It was bad, and so I will go hunt Dogman, Bigfoot with you to the ends of the earth. I don't really want to deal with a haunted house, but that's me. But the lot of stuff that they're using, I have like a thing that counts lightning strikes. I'll try that. EMF detector, I have that. I will go out there. I have dowsing rods. I will take and empty the kitchen sink, out there when things are around, just to see, because we don't know. And I believe the answers we're looking for is leaning that way. We only see 0.0003% of our own reality. That is a scientific fact. That means 97 percent of your reality that you see through your eyes, we only see 90% of it you don't see. That's a scientific fact. The rest of it you smell through your nose, your sense of touch. There is a reality. There is a reality around us that is a physical reality that we can't perceive. What if Sasquatch is just a couple percent of a spectrum different? I mean, there's so far you can go into this, and maybe some of the ghost hunting equipment can help advance this research. Maybe it won't, but you have to be open. People will say trail cams don't work. I say I agree with you, but we have to keep trying. Now, if I do a trail cam experiment, I've learned, like, I put them in places, in my opinion, like now, it's like, if something's going to come up and knock on my cabin, that's my little bit of turf they're giving me. Well, I'm going to put a trail cam and try to catch it. I might not try to do that way out there anymore. I've tried that in the past. I think they find that disrespectful. So now, I have a zero light camera and I got some pretty good pictures. And I'm still tweaking it. I'm still like, there are ways to advance this. I don't think you want something that has a beam, that's emitting a beam. I could take a trail camera, put it up on the ridge with my thermal and go, it could be turned off and the batteries are glowing. So what if a Sasquatch just sees a little more of that spectrum of heat? It sees it. Because in the thermal, I'm like, well, that's not good. Or it might have to be on. I can't remember. I remember going through like, okay, there's everything that has a battery that I have out there. So we have to test these things. And then, hey, if I can see it, I've tried this. Okay, let me see if I can take it down 2 degrees to where you can't see it quite. Where's the line at? Where's the line at to where maybe I can shield this 5%? Maybe I just need to go 2% for a Sasquatch not to notice it. But if we don't try these things and experiment, we can't just say, that they don't work. Because I do believe they'll stay out of the area. I believe all that is true. I believe it's part of how they come through an area. They come through an area like their life depends on it. They need to know everything that is unnatural or that can hurt them, and they come in through the area like a set of commandos. And if there's just something questionable, there's too many woods around. Just put up something to let the others behind you know, like, hey, we're going this way. I don't like what's up there. And I think they cautiously move through the area. I don't think they do this haphazardly. I think that's why I hear the knock. I think that's why they specifically kind of, even after all this time, they carefully go across where I can see them. If I happen to be outside, I can hear them communicating as they're getting here. You know, I can hear them once they get settled in, how they communicate. And it's very sneaky and stealthy. It's little pops and little knocks and a little something, you know. And it took me years to figure out that it was more than one. So they're not dumb. They're not dumb, and their life depends on not being found. So they're pretty good at it.
Well, I want to thank you so much. We are at the end of our slot. Got another guy coming in behind us, so we have to cut it. So I would love to have you back again, because we've barely scraped the bottom of the barrel, and I'm going to ask Eric to come back with you the next time too, so we can have both the you guys on, and maybe I'll plan it on a different night to where we could talk for like 3 hours and do a big show. And
yeah, I appreciate everybody that took their time out of their night. If I wasn't half blind, I would be able to read the comments better, but I will later. Thanks everybody. Thanks for inviting me. It's been a privilege and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we got to go, everybody. I apologize for that, but the time slot comes to an end, and this one went very quickly, and a lot of great info, and I want to say thank you. So if you just hang out backstage for a little bit, I'll be back there shortly. I just want to say goodnight to everybody, and then I'll see you back there. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kain Michael. All right. What a great show. What a great show. So, I just want to look at the calendar real quick so I can tell you who's coming on. Next week, I am on call for work, so there will be no show. But the week after that, I believe, yeah, Mr. Jay Bachochin will be our guest. He is releasing Finding J3 just recently this weekend, and he will be our guest in 2 weeks. So next week is off. I hope everybody has a great Labor Day. Thank you for keeping it cool in the chat. A lot of great comments. That's awesome to see every week. Every week we have a great chat room. You guys are very kind. I love you all. And as you know what's next, as my friend Larry says, get in the woods, people.